Local News 8 at 10. Local people, local news.
Good evening. For the second time in less than 1 week, Idaho Falls police are called to a deadly shooting. This one occurred at the Meadowwoods Apartments. That's on St. Clair Avenue near Woodruff and 25th. It happened around 5 o'clock tonight. Let's take a live look at the scene. Investigators have been there since 5 o'clock this evening. You can see that the Idaho Falls Police Department remains at the home right now. They are investigating what is going on. And with more on what happened, we turn to Local News 8's Feben Calhoun with more on this developing story.
A scary scene unfolds at an Idaho Falls apartment complex Saturday evening. A man shot dead.
What we know is we were sent to respond to a shots fired call. We know there was a physical altercation, and at this point in time it's just evolving rapidly, and we're still trying to gather information, identify. And so we're secured the scene. Detectives will be out.
Police say a fight broke out between the two in one of the homes. Witness Jerry McManus says she was just in the area for a Craigslist trade-off.
It's crazy. It looks like somebody apparently got shot. I was coming to look at something to buy, and we got trapped in, and now we can't get out.
When we pulled up, the police were getting out of the cars with their guns and went running into the apartment. The people I was meeting lived below the apartment down below, and they were yelling that they heard somebody say, "I shot him."
About 9 cop cars surrounded the area.
And by that time, everybody was coming in. There were so many cops, they blocked off the whole section, and we've seen them put in the ambulance the person that was shot.
McManus says it was a scary situation to pull up to.
Pretty scary. The people, there was kids there, and little kid, two little kids, and the people that lived right below that I was meeting were pretty shook.
Now, Chris, like you said earlier, police are still on scene trying to just figure out what happened and just to have this area secured. But it leaves the police with one question tonight. What led these two men to fight, ending in one man losing his life? Live in Idaho Falls, I'm Feben Calhoun.
Feben, thank you. Today's shooting marks the second deadly shooting in Idaho Falls since last Sunday. Officers were called to an apartment complex on Moonlight Drive last Sunday. When they arrived, one person, a 26-year-old, was found dead. Investigators did question one person, and police say it is possible that this was self-defense. Right now, no one has been charged. Local News 8 is your place for the most up-to-date information on both of these shootings. Join us back here tomorrow at 5 and 10 for the latest. You can always get the latest online at localnews8.com. New since 6, the streets of Idaho Falls are back open. The city lifted parking restrictions that were in place so crews could remove snow from the city street. A city spokesperson says cleanup will continue in a couple of areas next week. That cleanup was already scheduled. In Pocatello, it's a different story. The rush is on to remove the snow from Pocatello streets, and crews will be out in force in just a few hours. City crews will be working to remove the snow from yesterday starting at midnight tonight, and they will work through about 8 tomorrow morning. The area being focused on tonight will be east of Old Town. That's specifically the areas between East Lewis to East Lander Street. All vehicles must be removed from city streets during that time. And they have a pretty decent chance out there to get that removed because warmer temperatures are on the way.
Oh, most definitely. Yeah, this is the perfect time. We're not going to be seeing really any snowfall or rainfall, so to speak, for the next couple of days. A live look over Idaho Falls right now. 1 degree, everybody. So it is very chilly out there, but please make sure that you all bundle up. Current conditions right now, 9 below in Jackson, 4 below in Pinedale, 14 in Soda Springs, 19 in Malad. But those are just the temperatures. This is the wind chill. This is what it feels like outside. So even though it's 1 degree in Idaho Falls, it feels like 17 below. And as we look at what's happening tonight, there's going to be an average temperature of 7 below zero. Chris, back to you.
All right, thank you so much, Taja. An update now on the CenturyLink outage. If you are one of the 5,000 customers without service for the last few days, a representative tells us services should be back on now. CenturyLink crews were working around the clock to get services back on. That was cut by a third party. And here's a tip. If you have a DSL modem and your service is still out, you are advised to unplug your modem for about 15 seconds before turning it back on. Happening right now, agencies across Idaho are adjusting to a new law regulating how sexual assault kits are processed. Kits are collected at most emergency rooms in the state of Idaho. At St. Luke's in Twin Falls, they've been collecting them for years. They say that the new training will help them and law enforcement give better care to victims. Before the law went into effect, It was up to individual case investigators whether or not to test the kits. Now there are set guidelines for when a kit isn't tested that includes county prosecutors. So while we're talking politics, for the 5th year in a row, Idaho lawmakers say Governor Butch Otter's revenue projections for 2018 is on point. The Joint Economic Outlook and Revenue Assessment Committee voted in favor of the estimate Otter released in Monday's State of the State address. The governor's forecast predicts $3.8 billion in tax revenue, or 4.6% more than the current year. Turning now to the Trump transition, and tonight we know 2 apostles from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints will attend the inauguration of Donald Trump. In a statement, a church spokesperson said the decision is a way for Mormon leadership to support the process of a peaceful transfer of power. The First Presidency and members of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles have been attending inaugurations since 1905. With less than a week until Inauguration Day, the president-elect is looking well past his swearing in to what could be some major foreign policy shifts. Today, his sharp warnings for China and a possible break from Russia. ABC's Gloria Riviera is in Washington with these new developments.
Tonight, a possible foreign policy shakeup from the president-elect before he's even sworn in. Donald Trump now suggesting those sanctions against Russia imposed for hacking may be short-lived.
I don't know that I'm going to get along with Vladimir Putin. I hope I do.
Trump telling the Wall Street Journal he'll keep President Obama's sanctions at least for a period of time. But, quote, if you get along and if Russia is really helping us, why would anybody have sanctions if somebody's doing really great things? Trump laying the groundwork for his future relationship with Russia's Vladimir Putin in that press conference this week.
If Putin likes Donald Trump, guess what, folks? That's called an asset, not a liability.
Trump's comments on sanctions come after the Republican-led Senate Intelligence Committee announced late Friday it would investigate Russian hacking and any alleged ties to individuals associated with political campaigns. And now this in that Wall Street Journal interview. Trump saying he would consider doing away with a bedrock of U.S.-China relations, the One China policy, in which the U.S. engages in formal diplomatic relations solely with Beijing and not Taiwan.
China is ripping us off. You know who's getting the oil? China. What China's doing to us is horrible.
After his win, Trump took a congratulatory phone call from Taiwan's leader, raising concern in both the U.S. and China.
Why should some other nation be able to say, I can't take a call?
Tonight, the Chinese Foreign Ministry firing back, warning there is but one China in the world and no one can change that.
Checking out news from around the nation now, we are starting with the heartbreaking kidnapping, a baby taken at birth 18 years ago. And today, a family reunion, the only mother she ever knew behind bars tonight, accused of snatching that child from a delivery ward nearly 2 decades ago. The young girl's father is grateful.
First meeting was beautiful. It was wonderful. It couldn't have went no better.
A tip led authorities to Gloria Williams. She was charged in the kidnapping after DNA testing proved the other woman's identity. Continuing our news from around the nation, we head next to North Carolina. Take a look at these flames. A massive fire at the Baptist church. Several fire departments battled the fire. It broke out around 3 o'clock this morning. Incredible video. No one was hurt, and we do not know the cause of this fire. Final stop, Vandenberg Air Force Base in California. SpaceX launched a Falcon 9 this morning. This comes 4 months after a Falcon 8 rocket exploded on the pad in Cape Canaveral back in September. This is the first of 7 planned launchings. An alert for Wells Fargo customers in our consumer report. The Nationwide Bank pulling the plug on more than 400 bank branches. They'll shut down by the end of 2018. The bank says the branches are closing because of preference for online and mobile banking and not because of the bank's recent scandal involving the creation of fake customer accounts. In Wyoming, Amazon customers will soon have to pay taxes on their purchases. Governor Matt Mead announced the state reached an agreement with the online retailer to begin collecting the sales tax. Mead believes the tax will help with the state's ongoing budget crisis. It goes into effect on March 1st. As we deal with cold, emergency rooms are seeing a surge tonight. How hospitals are dealing with weather injuries. But first, 6 children are dead in a house fire. Next at 10, the device many of us use to stay warm at the center of this investigation. But first, here's a look at your highs and lows for today. We'll be right back.
Local people, local news. You're watching Local News 8 at 10.
Now to the weather nationwide. Over 20 million Americans in the nation's midsection are dealing with another powerful winter storm, and it's forecast to bring significant ice across the region. The freezing rain and ice causing a 20-plus car chain reaction pileup in Wichita, Kansas. According to Wichita police, there were only minor injuries. Drivers say the whole thing was scary.
I could just see every single car that was coming to hit me, and my airbag deployed, and then my head got whacked on the steering wheel like 5 different times.
Concerns about power outages is also increasing. Get this, an inch of ice can add more than 750 pounds of extra weight to a 300-foot power line. As we deal with these bitter cold temperatures, many of us are breaking out the space heaters to try and keep warm. Tonight, that heat device believed to be the culprit in a house fire that killed 6 children. ABC's Marcy Gonzalez has new information on the fire and the dangers of space heaters.
Tonight, the heroic 8-year-old who helped save her brother and sister from this house fire in Baltimore released from the hospital. But her 2 siblings are still in critical condition along with their mother.
She is so overwhelmed, it's impossible.
Overwhelmed by the loss of her 6 other children as investigators work to figure out what caused the fire. The mayor saying one possibility is that a space heater was involved.
We know that there was one in the house.
Electric space heaters are blamed for 1,200 fires each year, killing an estimated 70 people. This demonstration showing how materials left too close to a heater can catch on fire within minutes. Tonight, officials are again urging people to take these precautions. Keep everything at least 3 feet away from space heaters. Never plug them into extension cords, which can get too hot and eventually start a fire. And only use space heaters with an automatic shutoff in case it overheats or gets tipped over.
Again, the cause of that fire in Baltimore still isn't clear, and tonight that community is coming together, already raising more than $240,000 to help that family. Marcy Gonzalez, ABC News, New York.
Well, we do have those temperatures to where we will be putting up our heaters, but please, those of you, please be careful when you do use those space heaters, because that is a big problem. A look at our Viper radar of the snowfall that's happening right now. There's not a lot, but there's a couple of sprinkles here or there that's coming in through the Snake River Plain area. But that's really it, folks, for the day. There's not really much going on. Current conditions right now, 4 degrees in Blackfoot, 7 in Pocatello, 12 in Ketchum, 21 below in Chalice, and 12 below in West Yellowstone. So it is very, very cold out there tonight, folks. And we can see that from across the region. The highs for tonight, we're going to be seeing 20 below in Jackson, 13 below in Driggs, 7 Pocatello, 3 in American Falls. I mean, this is what we're used to for this time of year, and you just need to bundle up and stick with it. And as we get to tomorrow, we are going to be around freezing, so that's kind of warm for us around this time. 25 in Lava Hot Springs, 23 in American Falls and in Pocatello. 18 in Idaho Falls, and in Ashton is 22. Now, as we go ahead and go into our 8-day forecast, I want to go ahead and reiterate, we're going to be pretty clear as far as rainfall for Sunday and Monday, but as we go ahead and get into Wednesday and Thursday, that's where we're going to see a lot of the precipitation, either snowfall or rain. Pocatello is going to be very sunny, clear skies Sunday and Monday, 23 degrees for both of those days. Wednesday and Thursday, 70% chances of snowfall. And also too, the same pattern here across the board is that although we are going to get a lot of rain or snow on Wednesday and Thursday, Friday into that next weekend is going to be pretty nice. We should be clear from any snowfall or rainfall in the area.
I'll make you a deal.
Oh, fun.
You ready for this?
Go for it.
Okay, you can give us all the snow you want on one condition. Those temperatures have to be in the 70s.
Oh, yeah. I'm so for that. Please. Please.
If only that was possible.
If only.
Right.
One can wish.
We'll wish. Thanks, Tasha. The winter weather hammering our area isn't just rough for drivers, but also for pedestrians. So with so many sidewalks unshoveled and ice-packed emergency rooms, they're reporting a jump in weather-related injuries. In the past 24 hours, ERs around the Mountain West said they have a lot of weather-related injuries. At one Oregon hospital, nearly a quarter of all ER visits were weather-related injuries. Experts say one thing you can do to stop an injury is to take action and start clearing your sidewalks.
They haven't been able to walk even outside the door in 3 days, and so we're trying to at least get them access to the bus stop and to be able to walk around the block.
We checked with our local emergency rooms just a few days ago. They say they haven't seen a major increase, but they did tell us when we see weather like this, there is always an uptick in ER visits. Hey, take a look at this. It's a unique celebration of life that took place in Idaho Falls tonight. Coming up, how they remembered Carrie Fisher.
Get First Alert weather anytime, on demand. Log on to localnews8.com.
New tonight, a tribute to the late Carrie Fisher. Many of you might recognize that tune. Someone captured this video tonight of Steven Stromberg in Idaho Falls playing Princess Leia's theme song on the organ. Trinity United Methodist Church encouraged fans of the late Carrie Fisher to show up and pay tribute to her, dressed today as their favorite Star Wars character. Quite the event. The Idaho State men's basketball team hasn't won a game since December 16th. We'll see if they could get into the win column tonight. Julia Cox will bring us some of the highlights next on Sportsline.
Local people, local news. You're watching Local News 8 at 10.
Stand by, I'm going to put it on. Minor details. Yeah, right? Like a robot. Okay, and we're here, and we're sportsing. Really? Well, I haven't been to Idaho Falls.
You're watching Sportsline with Julia Cox.
Looking to end a 5-game losing streak and get their first conference win of the season, the Idaho State men's basketball team hosted the University of Idaho tonight in Reed Gym. There is the 1976-77 team, the team that upset number 2 UCLA in the NCAA tournament, being honored at the half. I'll have more on them in just a second. To the action. First half, Bengals trail 7-0. Stephen Lennox gets his own rebound, dishes it to Brandon Boyd. Boyd knocks down the tray ball. ISU trails by 4. Then on the Bengals' next possession, Boyd takes the NBA 3 and drains it. And just like that, ISU trails by 1. And then later on the Bengals' very next possession, shooter's gonna shoot. It's Boyd again, dropping another tray ball. The freshman was feeling it tonight. His parents were also in town, which is awesome for them to see. Bengals lead 9-7. Later in the first, Bengals lead by 1. Ethan Telfair wants in on the 3 action as he sinks one. ISU leads 20-16. Later in the first, same score. First shot is no good, but Pat Ingram is there for the board and the putback. Vandals trail by 2. The Bengals would score the last points in the first half, though, as Eric Nacken knocks down a 3. ISU trail by 1 at the half, but ISU loses this one 77-62. They remain winless in conference play. Now the Idaho State women's basketball team also in action today, taking on Idaho in Moscow. The Bengals won 67-60. ISU is now 9-7 overall and 3-2 in conference play. Sailor Grandin with another impressive game. She racked up 24 points and 6 boards. Lindsey Brown added 15 points to that. The Bengals' next game will be Thursday when they host Northern Colorado in Reed Gym. Tip-off is set for 7 o'clock. Now, it's been 40 years since the Idaho State men's basketball team made their deepest run in the NCAA tournament in program history. This weekend, members from the 1976-77 team were back in town and received their spot in Idaho State's Ring of Honor. This is the team that upset number 2 UCLA in the NCAA tournament, winning 76-75, halting the Bruins' run of 10 consecutive Final Four appearances. The Bengals were eventually knocked out of the tournament by UNLV, but to this day, they still remember that remarkable game.
Threw their famous UCLA press on us, and I swear I couldn't even see my players out there. I mean, it's just guys everywhere, but it wasn't my guys. But lucky Ernie Wheeler came in, and they were trying to foul him, and he hit the free throws, which helped us win the game.
I mean, it was a dream come true because really, you know, when I grew up in Aberdeen, we get to watch a little bit about basketball every once in a while, but UCLA had always won the NCAA championship, and so just playing against them was just such an accomplishment for us.
At the
Very, very cool. And over to football now. Russell Wilson and the Seahawks taking on Matt Ryan and the Atlanta Falcons in the NFC divisional round. First quarter, no score. Wilson throws it to Jimmy Graham on the 5-yard touchdown pass, and the Hawks take a 7-0 lead. To the second quarter, same score. Ryan throws to Julio Jones on the 7-yard touchdown pass, and we have a tie ball game. Looked like a miscue on the celebration, but we'll go with it. Second quarter, it's 10-7 Seahawks after a huge penalty on Seattle's kickoff return. That puts them deep into their own territory, and Wilson goes down in the end zone for a safety, so it's 10-9 Seahawks still with the lead to the second quarter. It's 12-10 Falcons now lead. Ryan finds a wide open Tevin Coleman for the 14-yard strike. Falcons lead 19-10, and Atlanta wins it 36-20. They will play the winner of the Dallas-Green Bay game. That will take place tomorrow, and New England hosted Houston tonight in the AFC divisional round. The Patriots won 34-16, and they will play the winner of the Kansas City-Pittsburgh game going on tomorrow. That's going to do it for sports. We'll be right back after this.
Local people, local news. You're watching Local News 8 at 10.
An update now on our top story. A man is dead in an apartment shooting. Here's what we know. A fight broke out at the Meadowwoods Apartments around 5 tonight. Shots were fired. One person was hit and killed. Another man was taken into custody. We don't know names or ages. Get the latest on this developing story overnight on localnews8.com. An update now to the negotiations between KIFI, Local News 8, and DirecTV. The satellite carrier shut off the station signal at 5 p.m. Central Time on Thursday, January 12th. KIFI, Local News 8's parent company, News Press and Gazette Broadcast, is trying to negotiate an end to the dispute of service, but DirecTV has refused to respond to an offer that NPG submitted before the disruption began. KIFI, Local News 8, will keep you updated on the negotiations in our newscasts and online. Click on the Save My Local Station logo on the homepage of localnews8.com. Negotiations are especially urgent for viewers of NPG's Fox and NBC affiliates expecting to watch tomorrow's NFL playoffs. One of those viewers is former DirecTV pitchman actor Rob Lowe. Lowe lives in Santa Barbara, California, one of 10 NPG television markets affected by the outage. Lowe took to Twitter earlier today to express his frustrations of having his local station shut off. There is no disruption of service for customers of other satellite or cable providers, and our programming is always free and available over the air. Now a final look at our forecast. Taja Davis.
Yeah, and also, too, you can always go on Facebook Live, because we're always there, too. But yes, let's take a quick look at our 8-day forecast. As we go into Blackfoot, we're going to be bouncing around between 20 and 30 degrees. We're going to be pretty clear until Tuesday. Wednesday and Thursday are going to be the big spots on where we're going to see a lot of snow showers and a lot of rainfall as well. And then we're looking pretty clear into the weekend. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, no rainfall, but just a couple of clouds in the sky.
Time to break out the shorts and swim trunks and head to the pool.
Let's do it. I'm all for it.
See you back here tomorrow. Have a good night, everyone.